And welcome to another edition of the New Sports Outlaws podcast. As always, I'm Neil. This is Dan. Dan, as we sit here watching the Yankee game, we were delayed in the starting of our taping tonight. Yankees were looking like it was going to take it. They're going to take it on the chin again tonight, down 8-0, and now it is 8-6. They've lost the first two games of the series to Toronto. We'll get to the Yankee struggles in our podcast tonight, as well as the Mets struggles. We will look into the NBA, and we'll look into the NFL, of course. Dan, how you been this week?
Good. This is kind of, I was looking forward to, we had our NBA draft. My favorite time of the year is NBA free agency. I know I was texting you all over the place while that was going on. So a lot to talk about this week. I know it's not even really football either, even though we did have a football trade happen. We have a lot of free agency, a lot of baseball to talk about. Let's get started.
Okay. So originally, I'm going to continue with this plan. I originally planned for us to open the podcast with basketball tonight. I did mention the Yankees because we're both watching the Yankees make a comeback here and get Barrios kicked out of the game. But we'll hold that off until later. Let's talk about where the most news is in sports since we last sat down and talked, the NBA. We had NBA free agency hit. We have a Knicks coach. Where would you like to start first?
We can start with the Knicks. We're a local pod. Let's start with the Knicks.
So the Knicks today made it official. One of the names we have been hearing for weeks is Mike Brown. Mike Brown will be the coach of the Knicks, the 32nd coach of the New York Knickerbockers. A guy who has a lot of experience. He has a lot of experience with star players. So he's not, and he has experience in a big market. I don't think this is the worst hire in the world. I also don't think this is groundbreaking. I think exactly what I've been hearing on the radio. I believe a little bit from a bunch of them. So Evan's been saying they had a process. They realized Tom Thibodeau. Hold on, Sean Marash and your troll. You take the net garbage logo off your background. Anyway, um, so I think the process was this. They came to a realization that Tom Thibodeau was not the coach for them, especially with the way the roster is now. They have too much offense, not enough defense. They went from a defensive team to an offensive team. Thibodeau's not that guy. So let's get rid of him. In the process, they knew that they had guys like Mike Brown, like the guy from Memphis. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, Jenkins. And you had all these other guys that were off free. And the Knicks were the only team looking for a coach. So why not call the Dallas Mavericks? Maybe Jason Kidd was their white whale. And they're like, let's see if we can get Jason Kidd. What does it hurt? They're going to tell us, no, go away. So they knew that Mike Brown was there all along. So you don't always get the apple of your eye. We all don't get to date Sydney Sweeney, Tom Brady. So some of us have to eventually go for the next best thing or what really is right for us and not what we dreamed of. So listen, do I think it's going to be better? Maybe. I don't know. But they decided it wasn't going to be good under Tom Thibodeau. They wanted to move on. I can't say that this is the worst move ever.
No, it's probably a good move. It's probably a good move. It took a while, but it's probably a good move. Where I kind of go back at it is I would get that whole process of looking for the next great coach by asking other teams if it was someone like I think his name was mentioned, but Eric Spoelstra, or if it was maybe Popovich if he was in his prime or healthier. I know he's going on with them health issues right now, but if it was like a great, amazing coach that some team has, that maybe you would ask if it's available. And it keeps coming back, and news keeps coming back. Oh, Jason Kidd wanted to be the coach of the Knicks, or they had mutual interest. What has Jason Kidd done that has made him so great? I don't understand what the big thing. So, I don't. That's why I don't understand the whole thing with whatever it was. Jason Kidd. And it was a couple other guys. Minnesota. It was Minnesota's head coach at first, Chris Finch, and then it was his assistant coach. I don't know his name, but it was his assistant coach then. So, I mean, I know we can't believe all reporting, and I'm with that stuff, but obviously, it seems like Jason Kidd was definitely um, someone they reached out to, along with a couple others. I know before Dawn Staley, and that was a name they reached out to. I guess they were just reaching out to everybody. I mean, I actually understand it. I don't even understand the Dawn Staley one. She's employed, but it's. I guess that's what they were doing. You know, Mike Brown was always gonna be there. I guess. So if they couldn't get to hire Jason Kidd over Mike Brown, I don't know why. Like they would actually have to give up assets to get Jason Kidd, a couple second round picks, whatever. Instead they get Mike Brown for free. I mean, I'm not saying they had to hire Mike Brown right away. I'm not saying they had to do that, but I don't get what was the whole big thing about Jason Kidd having to come to the Knicks. Whatever. Mike Brown's he's good. He's a good coach. Um, he brings a lot to the table. He coached. He like you said, he coached stars. He's coached in championships. So I guess that he was just that's who they were. That's who their guy was. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a different voice. You guys have wanted a couple of free agents with Jordan Clarkson, Yabu Sele in the mix. So it's maybe a new voice will help because obviously Thibodeau didn't have everybody's support. So maybe a new voice. He has been there for a little while now, and I know, but I think he's a good hire. I'm not going to say championship, but he's coming in knowing it's championship. I'm not saying they're a bust, but he's got high expectations, and I think he knows how to handle the media too. He's pretty good with the media.
Yeah, they had some clips about him with the media, but to your previous point, the next topic we were going to talk about was free agency anyway. So we can start with the Knicks free agents. Yamuseli and Clarkson are going to be New York Knicks. Like the move. I think Clarkson gives them a real legit scoring option off the bench. I know that earlier in free agency, we heard the name Russell Wilson as possibly being a name that the Knicks were kicking the tires on. We heard today Ben Simmons is the name the Knicks are kicking the tires on. So we'll see if they make any more moves when it comes to any bench pieces. You would think anybody they're going to go out and get, unless it's a trade and you're going to shake up the foundation of this team, which you know my personal opinions. I don't want any part of LeBron James. I don't want a Mike Brown, LeBron James reunion. I don't need any part. So obviously we both teach. So during the school year, we really can't listen to the afternoon show all that much. But BT made a very good point the other day when it first got mentioned, and then again I heard him make it today. LeBron, it'll go from the Knicks finally won it and Jalen Brunson won it to they needed LeBron. And it's like LeBron's the reason the Knicks have a championship. Listen, I'd rather not have a championship than have to thank him for getting me a championship. I don't care how.
No, pump the brakes on that one. No way.
I'll pass. I will pass.
You'll pass on a championship just because of LeBron James?
It means I have to sign my soul to the devil. I don't want it. It's not worth it to me. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, considering everything that's happened in the Eastern Conference during the playoffs, with all the injuries and all that shakeup, yes, a move for Giannis sounds sexy. A move for another star may sound good, but if there's something that the Pacers, if anybody, has taught the Knicks, it's being the continuity definitely helped them when they beat the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. So to have that core together of at the time Halliburton, Miles Turner, all of them, it definitely worked in their favor to beat the Knicks. So I think what the Knicks need it was only their first year with Karl Anthony Towns, of the full year with OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. I think that the best thing you could do is to stay where you're at, keep it going. Obviously, you have a new coach, but I would kind of keep the chemistry going. Maybe it's definitely going to be different. Hopefully, Mike Brown will use some of his bench. That obviously they're getting some pieces now. But seeing how the East is shaking out right now, I don't think the Knicks really should do anything to kind of jeopardize that chemistry and just keep the process going.
Yeah, I mean the East is obviously going to be down. Maybe some teams step up like Orlando, but Cleveland will be there still. But Boston has basically sold a lot of their parts and have Tatum out. And the Pacers are going to have Halliburton out. And one of the other free agency moves is Miles Turner has decided to leave the Indiana Pacers and head out to the Bucks, and he will be in Milwaukee. That also comes with Milwaukee releasing Dame and stretching out his contract, and it is by far the biggest contract that's ever been let go of and stretched out like that. I want to say it's like 23, almost 23 million a year over what the next 4 years or 5 years. 5 years.
5.
Yep. So that's what's going on in the East. What else? I have nothing else. Oh, your old boy Spencer Dinwiddie to the Hornets is another move for the East. I'm looking at free agency first before we talk about your guys' trade. D'Angelo Russell, another ex-net to the Mavs. Clint Capella out of the East to the West. Houston, I gotta say, I really like what Houston's done as far as getting a rim protector like Clint Capella, because although Durant is a great scorer, he is a statue on defense. So having a big guy like Clint Capella, if they get past Durant and gets to the hole, there is a good move for them, I believe. The Lakers got their big man that they needed. They got Ayton today, who was released, but at least they got a big man, because the rumor was Brook Lopez. He went to the Clippers. Then the rumor was Turner, or could they be in on Turner? Could they be in on Clint Capella? He went to Houston. So the Lakers get Ayton, and like I said, Brook Lopez goes to the Clippers. Any comments on any of the free agency moves?
No, the Rockets, like you said, they're loading up. They're loading up for their obviously run with Kevin Durant and probably the couple years, 2 to 3 years or so, that he has at least left as prime Kevin Durant, or not prime, but like scary monster. I could score from anywhere, Kevin Durant. I know we talked about this last week, but I think it's a perfect situation for him. Um, Lakers got their big guy. I guess they didn't want to go out and trade it. I think it is really telling that Brook Lopez didn't choose the Lakers and he chose the Clippers instead, which I thought was it's a little telling. I don't know if that's a telling of like LeBron and the whole thing, but I think that's a telling considering they got scraps of DeAndre in because they didn't want to trade for Nick Claxton or anything like that. Yeah, no, it's nothing too much. I mean, the Nuggets have signed a couple of guys. They've kind of reworked. Besides the trade that they made with the Nets, they've kind of kind of worked a little bit. They re-signed Bruce Brown, who was a big guy, who was a big guy for them during their championship run a couple of years back.
Yep.
Yeah, no, the West is it's loaded right now, and I think well, not like the Nets are competing for anything, but at least the East is definitely a lot lighter. Atlanta's loading up a little bit too, with obviously their Porzingis when they got Porzingis. I believe they just signed somebody else too. Duncan Robinson just signed with Detroit. Yeah, because I know they lost Tim. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. went to Denver. Actually, Tim Hardaway Jr. went to Denver, so Duncan Robinson's kind of like his replacement. Detroit's going to be there too. So, but yeah, I think especially Atlanta, everyone's kind of loading up because they see that the East this year is just looking a lot lighter. So Atlanta's like, oh my God, Trae Young. I mean, obviously the Knicks aren't going to be scared of Trae Young, but saying, oh, Trae Young's like, oh, maybe if I one chance to actually do something. So we'll see.
So I don't know if this team was mentioned when you were talking about teams loading up for next year, but I saw a couple of the social media personalities that do like the funny skits revolving around sports, and it's like, wow, I have a novel idea. We have an MVP candidate in Joker. Let's put pieces around him. So they go out and they get Tim Hardaway. They bring back Bruce Brown, and they make a trade. They make a trade with your Brooklyn Nets, and they send Michael Porter Jr., who was pretty disappointing in the NBA playoffs this year, and his bigger contract with a first round pick to the Nets for Cam Johnson.
Yeah, this is a win-win. This is one of those win-win trades, I think, for both teams. I think Denver is kind of not saying they've been stale the last couple of years, but ever since their championship run. They've been really good. They took the Thunder to 7 games, but it seems like Michael Porter needed a fresh start somewhere else. Obviously, and with his onerous 2-year contract, the Nets are like, ooh, we're here. We have a lot of money, so we could take it on. And obviously, Cam Johnson's a movement shooter. He'll be great with Jokic and all them. And for the Nets, they obviously got another first-round pick in about 35 years in 2032. And I think Michael Porter, he's 6'9", 6'10" guy. He has a lot of ability to him. I think he can work out either a couple of different ways for the Nets, whether it's they can use his big contract if they decide to go star hunting next year. I think he's like a contract that will just match up with the star contract. He'll be on an expiring contract after this year. Or he can raise his price. I think he's a really talented. He's a real talent. He really hasn't had a chance really because he's never been. Jokic is kind of like their son there. Everything revolves around Nikola Jokic. He's definitely going to have the ball. Him and Cam Thomas are going to be fighting over the ball in Brooklyn. But I think it works out good both ways. I'm excited for it. I'm at least see someone else with big athletic guy. We signed a couple of our other guys, Zaire Williams, Day'Ron Sharpe, to real cheap team friendly contracts, 2 for $12 million. So that was good. We're waiting on the Cam Thomas stuff. Cam Thomas still restricted free agent. There's no one with any money. I think what the Nets did with that is they kind of just told him, give me a team that's going to give you money and we're going to match it. I think that's just kind of what it is. But the thing is, there's nobody that, like, literally nobody has any money. I think everyone's kind of spent their money. So I think it's unfortunately for Cam Thomas, I don't think he's going to get anything of what he's maybe worth or expected. He may have to take a shorter deal. I have a feeling it might be like a shorter, like 2-year player option or team up player option, and maybe have to re-sign after the next year. But he'll be back with the Nets. But yeah, it's going to be another young season for the Nets, and got a lot of draft picks that we drafted 5 first round draft picks. But yeah, we're loading up for another 2026 draft.
Should make history in one of the games. Start all 5 rookies all on the court at the same time.
Okay.
But you've already passed your allotment by about 2 minutes of
Don't
Nets.
worry, I'm sure we won't talk about the Nets again until October, if anything. So I'll get it all in now.
We go from the basketball team in New York that no one cares about. Sorry, to the baseball teams, which no one should care about. Yeah, we were talking about how the Yankees have made a little comeback here, but they scored 6 runs. They're down 8-6 tonight. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They're only 1 game up on Tampa Bay and Toronto. They have 2 games left with Toronto here. If they lose tonight's game, they are in a tie for the division. And if they get swept in a 4-game series tomorrow, they will be looking at second place. I know it's early in the season to be talking about that, but there's just something wrong with this team. I understand that when Judge goes, the rest of the team goes, but when Freed and Rondon struggle like they did the last time out, it makes this team look a lot worse than we've at least given it credit for this year so far.
I know we don't we watch the Blue Jays at all, but these 2 games, the 3 games that I've watched the Toronto game, I just want to give them credit for a little something really quick. These guys don't strike out a lot. And I know Will Warren was terrible today, but between Carlos Rodon and Max Fried, they made them work. And I was just kind of looking up stats before, and the Blue Jays are actually the team number 1 in least strikeouts per game. Which I know before, like the last 3 weeks, they've actually like really sucked, and they really, really underachieved before the last 2 or 3 weeks, which they've been actually really good. But I just kind of want to say that their hitting wise have been actually really good against obviously our best guys. It's a big couple games. Now that the Yankees are back in this game, it's kind of a big next 3 innings, and tomorrow before we kind of go into a July 4th weekend against the Mets. So, yeah, I know it's a little early, but again, with the division rival, and it kind of comes down to tiebreakers, that kind of thing. These are important games. You don't want to get. I mean, it looked bad early when it was 8-0 or 7-0 in the first inning. It was just like, what's going on? But in terms of this team, like, we have way too many guys. Oh, all right, never mind. We have 2 on with 1 out.
Yeah,
Second
but
and third
it's open, so
with
after
Aaron Judge, and they're going to walk. They're going to walk.
Judge is hitting off the wall, how much you want to bet he puts him on first base?
Oh yeah,
And
it's a first base opened. There's no one.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a couple of guys. I mean, Volpe's obviously been really struggling lately. 2 for his last 19. Stanton, before he just hit a 3-run bomb that we were just talking about before, he wasn't looking good. That was his first homer of the year about 10 minutes ago. He's 3 for his last 18 before that. Ben Rice, before he just hit that double off the wall, was over his last 12. So, I mean, and also we have, I think, like, our numbers haven't been that terrible. I think it's just a couple of moments. Like, Volpe's had his bad moments in the field, and he's supposed to be a Gold Glover out there. Jazz keeps showing us that he has a lot of ability, but he's not a third baseman. Definitely. He's had a lot of throws, especially in the series, that have not been great. Luke Weaver is not back to what he is yet. You can tell his confidence is not there yet. He didn't look good yesterday. Leiter and Hamilton, might as well get rid of them. They're terrible. You can't depend on them. It's just we have our numbers. If you look at our numbers, they don't look terrible, but it's just we have bad moments that have really basically. And we had 2 defense catchers interferences. J.C. Escar the past couple days. The one yesterday was a really bad one when it was 4-4 and catcher's interference. Next thing you know, it was 8-4. I think they lost 12-4 yesterday, whatever it was. It's just something. You're right. There's just something that's not clicking with it. It's just something's not right. They're a good team. I know they're kind of in a malaise lately. Tampa and Toronto have been really good. And the Yanks have just kind of been floating around 500. But there's definitely third base, which we've kind of been saying third base since spring training has started. We were kind of third base. So hopefully we got definitely third baseman has to be something we got to get by the trade deadline.
Yep. So one comment I was going to make to echo something you said before we move on from the Yankees is Anthony Volpe is an absolute butcher in the field. And I'm so sick of it. And he's overmatched at the plate. I get that he won. I won the job. It's a double play. No, first and third, 2 outs. I get that he won the job a couple years ago in camp. I'm sorry, not first and third. It's
8-7.
Yeah, first and third run scores 8-7. I get that he won the job coming out of camp a couple years ago, but he is utterly overmatched. I believe that the Gold Glove year was a little fugazi. I don't think he is as good. What's funny is I don't know if you'll agree with me with this. I was talking to my sister today, and I kind of equated it to Derek Jeter won Gold Gloves, but everyone was like, he's not that great of a shortstop. He wins it because there's no competition, because A-Rod moved to third and yada, yada, yada. And it was because of his name of Derek Jeter, he won Gold Gloves. He wasn't that good of a fielding shortstop. Yet, I heard some of the same analysts talk about Anthony Volpe won a Gold Glove. Anthony Volpe's defensive metrics are so good. He's a butcher. Send this kid down to the minors. Let him get his head right. Let him start hitting the ball. He's overmatched at the plate. He's playing like crap in the field. This kid, listen, I don't want him cut. I don't want him traded, but like something's got to happen. Why does he deserve to play every day? I'd rather see Peraza at shortstop for at least a game or two. You can't keep running this kid out there. He's batting close to 200. He's leading the league in errors in the field. I'm done with it.
Yeah, it was what was keeping him, I think, on the field at first, at least, was his defense. That Gold Glove kind of bought him, I guess, a couple of years, obviously, with the Yankees starting shortstop, because he was always 220s, 220s. Yeah, I think he's back at the 220s now. And I know he's actually got like 40-something RBIs, but still, you're right. I mean, it seems like in the biggest moments, the ball finds him. And lately, especially, it hasn't worked out. It's almost like striking out at the plate when it's clutch time. He's making the error in the field at clutch time, which something that I don't think we've ever seen before is being not clutch in the field. But yeah, it's definitely it also shows you how little confidence it seems like we have in Peraza, that he can't even get on the field more than once or twice a week. And he was supposed to be the more highly touted prospect before that spring training 3 years ago, when Peraza was supposed to take the shortstop job, and all of a sudden Volpe kind of took it away from him. And really, I know Peraza is not a good hitter. He's definitely a better fielder than Volpe, which is interesting. I would want to see Peraza get a shot. But at this point, I think it's just better for us if we're gonna end up getting rid of Peraza. I mean, I don't know why we can't put Peraza at third base. But I guess DJ LeMahieu's hitting well. I don't know. But it seems like DJ has a spot on the field no matter what, as long as he's still hitting. I guess that still kind of makes sense but Jazz also has moments where it seems like every time there's a somewhat tough play, we're almost holding our breaths if he's gonna overthrow it or bounce it or whatever. Maybe it's just this Toronto series that's really like kind of recency bias, because it's really hasn't looked good lately.
Yeah, Jazz needs to be the second baseman. I get, and we've seen it tonight. DJ puts up major league at bats. Like, he's getting some balls in play. He's walking, but Jazz needs to be the second baseman. They need to go get a third baseman. I just want Volpe to get a breather. The one last point I wanted to make before we move on to the Mets is Mark Leiter is atrocious, and he needs to be cut, DFA'd. He is a very far cry from the Leiter family tree, and I don't know if they realize this, but he's only a nephew of Al Leiter. I don't understand why they keep treating him like he's his son. His son is not on this team. His son is a starting pitcher for the Texas Rangers. So, Bellinger just stole second base, second and 2 outs. I digress. I wanted to get to the Mets, and you talked earlier about the 4th of July. It's getting to the point, I know the Mets are winning today, and the Yankees are making this comeback, but it's getting to the point where someone's going to have to win this 4th of July series. 4th of July baseball is always pretty epic and patriotic when you think of this is America's pastime. It's no longer the favorite sport. It may be the favorite sport of guys like you and me. We grew up playing baseball our lives, I always joked around that if you slit my wrists, I will bleed Yankee pinstripes. But it's something about baseball on 4th of July, and this year it lines up that the Yankees and Mets will be playing a Subway Series. The Mets have lost 4 in a row, but they're winning right now, so maybe they'll break that streak. What have you seen from the Mets that you want to contribute here?
I mean, I guess the Yankees, even though they hear their backlash on the media, the Mets have been worse. They might be the only team that's been worse. I would want to. We obviously don't look up the Colorado Rockies, but I would want to see their record over the past 10 games. I mean, I know the Yankees are only 5-5, but Mets, they're only 2 games out right now. I'll put my positive Tommy spin on it, with only being 2 games out. They're 3-7 in the last 10. But their starters have been getting walloped. They're kind of between injuries. So I'm really watching this. Stand 3-1. Between injuries, Griffin Canning had his Tyrese basketball injury, Tyrese Halliburton moment with that Achilles injury. I saw that. I was watching Sunday Night Baseball, and that happened, and it was just, oh my god. They didn't say it at the time. You popped out, you bum.
Just got under it.
So yeah, but it's between. I'm just kind of going to read their rotation really quick, between Blackburn, Frankie Montas, a rookie Tidwell. Peterson's looked terrible lately, at least his last few starts, and Clay Holmes is, I guess, their ace for now. They've been really bad lately. I mean, even their bullpen, Brazoban, has gotten lit up. Reed Garrett from earlier today got lit up. They haven't even been able to use Edwin Diaz because either they've been losing so many times. Lindor is 2 for his last 20. I know Soto's had a really good month, but he's still in his 250s. It's really their rotation that's really taken a hit between Kodai Senga, who's out for a while. Manaya had a setback last couple of days. He's going to be out, looks like, for a while. Obviously, Canning's out for the season. They're going to definitely need to kind of hit up the trade market and see if they can get a start. Because with the 5 starters, there's really nobody else that's on the horizon for them to come between the 5 I just read. With the 5 rotation, their bullpen looking like crap. Even their pitching lab can't fix it. They're going to need to get some people. Yeah, the pitching lab might have to close down because they don't want these 5 guys in there. And they have some issues right now.
Yeah, the Mets have a lot of issues. As many issues that we joke around about the Yankees is just because we're Yankee fans, so we focus on them a little more. The Mets issues are well documented, especially if you're like us and you listen to WFAN during the summer even more because we're teachers and we're off the summer. I believe Reed Garrett is trying to catch Mark Leiter for the worst relief pitcher in New York. But Mark Leiter has that crown, so Reed Garrett has some room to try to catch up to him. Dan, our last topic of the night is football and fantasy football. We'll combine the two for tonight. Quick note into the football world. Not too much going on except for the trade that we saw the other day. So Mika Fitzpatrick from the Steelers gets traded to the Dolphins for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. There's picks in there too. We mentioned it. Obviously, we talked about it in our text chain because our friend Rocco is a Dolphins fan. Listen, it just shifts the focus for the Steelers. Steelers needed a cornerback and needed a wide receiver too. Now the Steelers need a free safety and they still need a wide receiver too. But they have now 2 tight ends, and apparently Arthur Smith, if you remember, in Atlanta likes to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So they'll use Freiermuth and Jonnu at the same time. And I think that the Dolphins defense doesn't get any worse, doesn't get any better, but I like Mika better than Jalen, so.
Pittsburgh's loaded up, I guess. Aaron Rodgers has gone in everybody's head that all of a sudden they're going to make some kind of run for a Super Bowl or whatever they're going to do. Even though they're still the 3rd best team in their division, they're not going to. This might be the year that Mike Tomlin does not finish 500. I'm telling you, they have a couple older guys. They still got to sign T.J. Watt to a contract. He's still very upset right now. Yankees just heard double play. Good job. They got a lot of work to do. Yes, they got Jalen Ramsey. He's another wash corner that he's a good name. He'll make some plays, but ultimately he'll be getting beat a lot of the time. Jonnu Smith, he's a quality tight end. Obviously, last year in terms of fantasy relevance, he was really good. That the ones from what we keep track of, we know Jonnu Smith was a stud last year. That's why I think we were all surprised that kind of Miami traded him away for, I guess. But I guess so. I guess he was making, but they ended up
more money.
Yeah, Miami ended up getting Darren Waller from the Giants. Whatever that. I guess he didn't want to be a Giant. I guess it's better going Miami to be a rapper in Miami than being a rapper in New York, New Jersey, whatever it is. So whatever. But Pittsburgh's loaded up, and they're going to finish below 500. Mike Tomlin's not going to be their coach anymore, and I can't wait to see this dumpster fire that we saw as New Yorkers that we saw with the Jets last year. You can replace that Yankee symbol with the Pittsburgh symbol because it's exactly what it's going to be.
This is New York sports. I could really, in the end, care less Pittsburgh, but my prediction is different. I think that
He'll be your new coach next year, the Giants. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Evan Roberts. Yeah, that's not happening. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers finish 9-8. Maybe they don't make the playoffs, but I think they finish 9-8. I actually have them probably winning that last wild card spot. But we'll get to predictions a little later in the summer. And for my fantasy, I got a 2-pack question for you. I got an either or, and I have our famous trade bench start scenario. So let's go with the either or first. Danny, in fantasy sports, are you more of a zero RB strat, or are you more of a zero wide receiver strat? If you had to pick one, and you going into a draft, and you're like, you got to either be zero RB, which means you don't pick an RB at least to the fifth round, or zero wide receiver, where you don't pick a wide receiver to at least the fifth round. Which one would you force yourself to do?
I think this year, I think the zero wide receiver strat works better this year. Because a lot of the running backs this year at the top of the draft are real catching threats. Not like the. I mean, I know Derrick Henry's up there, but he's not a catching threat. But between the Bijan Robinsons, the Christian McCaffreys, the Jahmyr Gibbs, the Saquon Barkleys, these are all like receiving threats, and they're all like 80 catch guys that definitely could win some leagues. And think in the past, it's kind of been more running backs just kind of being beasts and being running backs, and just not as much. I mean, they'll be obviously catch some passes, but besides Christian McCaffrey, there really wasn't a lot that were up there. So I think this year I would rather be the zero wide strap.
Yeah, I think that's how we usually see it. Although wide receivers are, overall, I like wide receivers better than running backs in fantasy football. I do also believe that once we get to like the fourth and fifth round, your running back pool is slim. Now, obviously, someone's going to sneak out of there. Some younger player or for a rookie or second year player is going to sneak out of there that nobody realized, like Chase Brown last year. Although I did realize it, and I traded for him and for almost nothing. And somebody will sneak out of there, but for the most part, we see wide receiver quality in that fifth, sixth, seventh round where there's very little running back quality in those rounds. So I agree with you. If I would have had to pick a strat, especially this year, I think so far with the mock drafts that I've done, I think I would go with a zero wide receiver strat as well. And my trade bench start for you this week is a 3-pack of wide receivers. Mock drafts are going around round 4, toward the end of round 4. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Scary Terry, and you have Rashee Rice.
I think Tyreek Hill is going to be right up there again, especially at the beginning of the year. It seems like Tyreek Hill and Tua, especially those first couple of months of the year, are definitely going to kind of re-gel. I know there were some issues last year, obviously, where they just couldn't kind of come together, but I think Tyreek Hill has a little bit of a resurgence of a year, especially with no Jonnu Smith around. I think it's definitely the Tyreek show again. So I'm going to start him no matter what. Yeah, you say Rashee Rice, and who else? Who else? Sorry to hear you.
Scary Terry.
Oh, Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin definitely showed some real chemistry that I don't think anybody saw coming. I think everyone saw Jaden Daniels kind of being a really good quarterback, especially that he uses his legs. But his chemistry that he developed with Terry McLaurin last year was scary for other teams. Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I am going to. So we have star Tyreek Hill. I'll bench Terry McLaurin, and I will trade the other guy. Who else did you say?
Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice. Yeah, forget you. I was told in a video that Patrick Mahomes is no longer fantasy relevant. So if Patrick Mahomes is not fantasy relevant, Rashee Rice is not far behind.
Well, I mean, although that sounds like a smart guy, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, Xavier Worthy had a fantasy. See, you don't have to have a quarterback who's fantasy relevant to have a wide receiver who can put up quality fantasy numbers, because Xavier Worthy last year put up pretty decent numbers for anybody who had him. I have him on my dynasty team, so I like Xavier Worthy. But yeah, to explain my video that we're talking about that I put out about quarterback targets and fades. Look at Patrick Mahomes' numbers. The last couple of years, it's gone down 1,000+ yards each year passing. Now, do I think he's going into the 2000s this year? No, but they've focused more on running over the last couple of years to try to preserve his health. And I don't think that's going to be any different this year. And all three of those wide receivers I gave you just have questions. Mahomes hasn't thrown it as much, plus Rashee Rice was out, and Worthy stepped up last year, so how does that work? Scary Terry, yeah, they had chemistry, but they bring in Deebo Samuel, and I know he looks a little chunky, but he's still somebody they traded for, so who knows, is that going to take some food away from Scary Terry? And then Tyreek Hill, of course, he might get somebody else pregnant while he's in the midst of playing this regular season. So it would be during our fantasy season. So all things you got to consider when you're making these picks. Dan, before you sign us off, the Yankees are going into the 7th inning, down 8-7.
Yeah, hopefully Yankees can make a comeback, and we're not on the verge of getting swept in a 4-game series before the Mets. But yeah, keep the followers and likes coming on X, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Keep those likes and comments coming. Until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil. Signing off.